Hey, my name is Dolf de Roos, and as many of you know, I have a thing about commercial real estate, and I want to share with you today some of the insider secrets that I've learned over the decades. Many people think that commercial real estate deals are really tough to find. Well, I have a theory that the deal of the decade comes along about once a week. And if you say that that's wrong, it's just semantically wrong or mathematically wrong. By definition, the deal of the decade comes along exactly every 10 years. Then when you hear that I found a great deal, you'll probably stop looking for 9.9 years because you think this decade's deal has gone. But if, like me, you believe that the deal of the decade truly does come along about once a week, then you'll keep looking and looking and looking. And by looking for the deal of the decade, chances are you'll find it. So any foray into the commercial real estate world must be accompanied by a commitment, not just to find the deal of the decade, but to find that deal every week. Those deals are out there and you can find them. The number one tip, if you want to do well in commercial real estate, is you actually have to find deals. And I know this sounds self-explanatory, but let me explain what I mean by it. It means that you shouldn't just sit at your desk on the computer researching the market and what have been the trends over the last 20 years and this aspect of the economy. No, you've got to actually hit the ground. You've got to go out there and look for actual deals out there, because until you start looking at deals, you haven't got a show of finding any that are worthy of investing in. Don't take time to research every single fact, stat, and nuance of the market. Take time to go out in the field and find deals. We often get too bogged down in preparation as opposed to taking action. Finding a great real estate deal means going out into the field and physically finding one. And then you'll know that you've got a good deal when it meets all your requirements. Don't just sit at your desk and hope that one will manifest itself in front of you. Tip number 2 is you have to find tenants. Now, this seems self-explanatory, but let me expound on this a little bit. Tenants are not only a crucial component of your operation. Obviously, without tenants, the building would be vacant and there'd be no income. But your tenants aren't your adversaries. You've got to see them more in the light of your tenants being your business partners. Without my business partners, namely my tenants, I don't have a business to operate. I am dependent on them. So crucial are tenants in real estate in general that you should focus on getting great tenants. But when it comes to commercial real estate, there's another layer that makes them so important. And that is when it comes to residential property, the value of a residential property is usually based on comps. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, certain age, size, condition in a certain part of town. If it's worth $400,000, then a similar home, similar age, similar condition, same part of town is going to be worth about the same. That rule does not apply to commercial real estate. With commercial real estate, the value of a commercial building is a multiple of its rental income. So if you can buy a vacant building because it's got no income, you'll generally buy it quite cheaply. I'm not saying you should buy it yet, because if you don't have a tenant, it's not worth much to you either. But if you can find a vacant or semi-vacant building, and before you commit to buying it, you find a tenant for you, then you increase the value tremendously. And if you can buy a semi-vacant building for $1 million, but by putting another tenant in there, the value goes up to $2 million, then when you get a 50% mortgage from the bank, that could cover the purchase price. I love that. Tenants are crucial. Make sure you've got a system of attracting great tenants to your properties. Clearly, if the secret to commercial real estate is finding great tenants, because by having tenants, you've got rental income that increases the value of the property, then you've got to develop the skill set to attract tenants. If you don't like meeting with people, if you're not good at talking with people, I suggest that's a skill that you should master, because the better you get at that, the better you'll be able to attract tenants to your fold, and the value of your buildings will go through the roof. And related to this, point number 3, it is a business. Commercial real estate investing is a business, and our clients are our tenants. Now, the tenants' clients might be the people they have coming in their shops or the people dining in the restaurants or whatever, but from our perspective, our clients are our tenants. And therefore, you must always remember, tenants are clients and business partners. Treat them like it. This means you're an accommodating and professional landlord, as well as a rational and straightforward investor. You've got to have a relationship with them. If they call you with a need, you've got to fulfill that need, or else things won't go the way you intended them to go. Treat them well and they will treat you well. It's like anything in life. What you get depends on what you give. It applies in the commercial real estate realm as well. And tip number 4, commercial real estate investing should be a long-term strategy. I say should be because there are many strategies, and everyone knows that when it comes to real estate in general, some people like to fix and flip. That means they buy some dungaree old thing that needs a lot of work done to it, they do the renovations, and then they sell it at a profit. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking it. However, in order to make another dollar, you have to buy another one and renovate it and sell it with all the work that's entailed. So I've come across people who've fixed and flipped, say, 10 properties, and I'll say to them, what if you'd managed to hang on to all of them? They say, but that's not my model. That's not what I do. I say, I know. But what if you'd managed to hang on to them? And suddenly they do the math, and if they sold them all for $200,000 each and they've got 10, that's $2 million. And if properties go up by just 5% a year, that's $100,000. That's more than the annual average income. So in my experience, people that hang on to properties for the long term tend to do a lot better. They do a lot better for a number of reasons. For instance, every time you sell a property, you might pay up to 6% commission for the privilege of selling it. You're going to pay what's called depreciation recapture tax. And thirdly, you're going to have to pay at some level a capital gains tax on the profit. Whereas if you never sell, you never pay those items. And you might say, okay, so let's say my property goes from 100,000 to 1 million. How will I ever get the benefit of that increase in value? And the answer is that at that stage, you can refinance and pull the money out. And you might say, well, if I refinance, I'm going to pay more interest and mortgage interest. And that's true, but you've also got more rental income coming in because the value of that property has gone from 100,000 to 1 million. So it has to be a long-term strategy. I have found that people who sell a property tend to live long enough to regret that decision to sell. So real estate is a game of long-term commitments and rewards. Seldom sell your properties and always think of them as long-term investments. And tip number 5 is add value. Oh my gosh, one of the great advantages of real estate is that we can add value. When you think of any other investment vehicle, when you think of certificates of deposit or unit trusts or bonds or stocks or shares, once you've acquired them, once you've invested in them, what can you personally do to increase their value? And the answer is obviously nothing. But when it comes to real estate, what can you do to increase the value of a property once you've bought it? Where do we begin? Oh my gosh, just by painting a building, you can increase the value by way more than the cost of having that building painted. And by the way, you don't need to paint it yourself. You can pay someone else to do it while you're looking for your next deal of the decade. Just by putting flowers in a flower bed in front of a property, you can increase the value. Remodeling a kitchen can increase the value of a house. We once spent, and I know you won't believe this until you hear the explanation, $20 to increase the value of a commercial building by $2 million. And in case you're saying that's ridiculous, we did it by painting a white circle on the roof of the building and the letter H in the middle. We added an helipad to the building, and the rent went up by $2 a square foot. There's 100,000 square feet. The rental per year went up by $200,000, and at a 10% cap rate, the value of the building went up by $2 million. Always figure out, what can I do to this property to massively increase its value? In fact, I'm always one to put my money where my mouth is, and I've written a book. It's got the longest title on Amazon. It's called 101 Ways to Massively Increase the Value of Your Real Estate Without Spending Much Money. And if you click on the link below, you can get your own free copy of this book where you can learn some of the things that you can do to existing properties you own, or maybe your property you're looking at that you're about to buy. Because one of the great advantages of real estate is that you can increase its value without spending much money after you've bought it. And it's incumbent on all of us to make sure we do that with every acquisition. I hope you've learned something about a topic that I'm clearly very passionate. I love this real estate game, and a truly pleasurable day for me is to find the deal of the decade that other people may have seen, but they didn't realize how good it was, and they perhaps didn't realize what they could do to the property afterwards to increase its value. If you did like it, make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to check out my next video.